Hey guys, so I had every intention of doing a graduation speech for my high school graduation. However, that was not able to happen, but I still want to be able to communicate this with people because I think that is really important. So whether you're graduating from high school or you're an adult or whatever, maybe you're younger, I think that this is important because I didn't just write this for the graduating class. I wrote this for everyone, really, and it's something that we can be doing and we can starting now. You don't have to wait till you graduate. You don't have to wait till you're an adult. So I think it's just important that I say what I wanted to say. And as I'll talk about later, I think that the pen is so important and speech is so important, and speech has changed the world in the course of history. And so I think that we should use our words and we should be vocal about what is true, what is right. So hello, my name is Riley. Today I wanted to talk to the graduating class because I believe that words have the power to impact people in great ways. Throughout the history of the world, and even the United States, the power of the pen has been as sharp, if not sharper, than a double-edged sword. From the birth of our country with the Declaration of Independence, to Uncle Tom's Cabin to begin the declination of slavery, to I Have a Dream from Martin Luther King, to books about life that pull us from the darkness, the pen has power. So first I will start off by saying, good job on surviving. Good job on pulling through even when you really didn't want to. Good job on keeping your head up even when the circumstances were against you, when personal stuff threatens to get in the way of your school life and your joy. But I primarily wanted to address this idea of going forward, of what graduation means. Because the thing is, in life we have an opportunity everywhere we go to put our best foot forward and influence someone for the better. As Denzel Washington says, at the end of the day, it's not about what you have or what you've accomplished. It's about who you've lifted up, who you've made better. It's about what you've given back. So many of us go through life thinking that the most important thing is success. The most important thing is getting that diploma and then making money, starting a family, getting a degree, buying a Tesla, living happily ever after. However, I would say that what Washington hints at is far more important. Why? Because we can strive for success as much as we want. But when the door is shut in our face, we find ourselves in the ground in tears because those are things that sometimes we can't help, sometimes we can't control. And that's just the way the world works. And if things don't go well, we have put all our worth and all our effort into something that hangs so loosely out in front of us. But something that will never go away while this earth remains is people in need. And they are all around us. The purpose of life, in my opinion, and I didn't explicitly say it in here, the purpose of life, in my opinion, is to live for God and to strive for God, to do His will on this earth and impact the people around us while we can. And I think that's something that you can keep getting better at and you can't lose. You always have an opportunity to help someone in need. And so I think that's a great purpose. That's a valiant purpose that allows us to go through everything that we do without being sucked up in and consumed by the darkness of the world around us. Because now you're just trying to be the light. And that's something that's very powerful and hard to break. And so I would say, don't allow success to define your worth. Not all of us are meant to be brain surgeons, but we are all meant for something. And every part is important. And in the end, it's not about what you have accomplished, it's about what you have given back. You can be the king of the world, but what have you given back? You could have your name in the greatest history books, a legend, but what have you given back? Contrastingly, you could be a nobody that everyone has forgotten, and yet you have given so much. And to me, I believe that the forgotten person has figured it out. They have lived their lives cheering people on and bringing people up. They lived selflessly and they lived fruitfully. We are about to go into the world, and we are about to go to try and live our lives our way. But I say live it the way. The way that says, even if I work at 7-Eleven for the rest of my life, I can make a difference by simply offering a smile to a crying or hurting customer. Or even if I don't make it to the NFL, I can still teach young kids how to find their dreams. Even if I don't climb the corporate ladder, I can still be a light as a caregiver for retired people. In everything we do, we have an opportunity to make a difference. Never ever say that you can't make a difference, because you can. In the small corner of the world that you occupy, you can make a difference. You don't have to change everyone's life, but you can just change one person's life. The greatest book in history, the Bible, tells us to be a light to the world, and in fact to not hide that light, but to shine it brightly and boldly before others. And in fact, in that book, a great prince decorated with divine clothes and divine powers came to live among the sheep, and they called him the Good Shepherd. Why? Because he left to find that one sheep that needed help. He left to find that one person that needed saving, and he continues every day to go back and get that sheep. So too must we be shepherds. So too must we go to the world and be lights and be protectors of our sheep. I don't care if you are black, white, purple, green, whatever. You are my sheep. I am your sheep. We live for each other. We live for the flock. And I want you guys to know this, because so many people think that their story isn't good enough. But every story is valuable. Your story is valuable. Why? Because it is unique to you. You battle through your mind. You battle through your circumstances. And someone can be inspired by each one of our stories, because each of us is relatable to another person. Maybe you didn't go through all the hardships of like drugs and all that sort of stuff. Maybe you grew up a Christian, and maybe you just found you were able to find the faith in you and find faith in God, and not just your parents' faith, you know? That's impactful to someone who is probably on the same journey, who is deciding, like, is this my mom's faith or is this my faith? You know what I'm saying? Like, your story doesn't have to be all crazy and wild, or maybe your story is crazy and wild. Each story is valuable because God put you in that situation for a reason. And the thing is, life is a journey. Life is a workout. And you only get stronger if you lift the weights, right? But if we want everything to be easy, how do we get better? How can we share if we never build ourselves up? Don't ever say your story isn't good enough. Don't ever do that to yourself. And don't ever do that to anyone else. And don't do that to God, because He put you in those situations for a reason. Every story has a purpose. So, I would stress to you to keep yourself on guard, because we're about to graduate and about to go out into the real world. Don't let the darkness overtake you. I like to say that the reason I push myself in anything I do, and like especially physical training, is because when you develop yourself physically, you develop yourself mentally and spiritually. When you run that mile as fast as you can and you sprint that final 100, you are preparing yourself mentally for when you face spiritual warfare in life. And so I think that if you're going to work out, you give that workout your 100%. And that's how we should go through our life. If we're going to study, you give the study 100%. If we're going to read the Bible, we're going to read the Bible at 100%. You know what I'm saying? And when you refuse to give up holding that plank, even when you've outlasted all the competition, you are building muscles in the body and muscles in the soul. So keep up your discipline daily and remind yourself why you should keep going in life. Don't leave high school and think you are going to live your life for the pure sake of living, because then you find yourself at the bottom of a bottle or at that party wondering what the meaning is. Search yourself now. We should prepare ourselves now for hardships that might come in the future and probably will come in the future. You want to make sure that you have built yourself up for the battle, that you are preparing before the battle comes, just as any soldier would. Find the truth, find the meaning, cling to it, let it be your flame to start the fire. Find the reason to keep breathing, and then you won't just walk through life, you'll run through life, and it'll be a run worth your while. Yes, there's going to be ups and downs in life, but what's the thrill of the roller coaster without them? So, you need to decide how you are going to ride through your life. With your hands in the air or with your hands in your face. One of them is a lot more fun. So now I want to share with you guys some stories. So I actually had the privilege of going on the Thomas Hudner with Northport High School and JROTC. And this is a destroyer. It was named after a pilot that served in the Navy during the Korean War. Hudner received the Congressional Medal of Honor for risking his life to go after his partner, Jesse Brown. Now, put this into context. During this time, there's racial discrimination. But it didn't matter to Hudner. Why? Because he realized that above all others, he was going to go after the one who was lost. He was going to go against what society says matters, because society can lie to us, guys. He was going to do what is right. He was going to find the person who needed him. He was going to go and rescue his sheep because he is a shepherd. And it didn't matter if the sheep was black or purple or pink or brown or whatever. He was a sheep and Hudner was going to get him. And so the expression on the ship is above all others, because he left the 99 to go get the one. And I just think that's so amazing. And so the people that live and work on that ship, they hold themselves to that. They hold themselves to the honor of Hudner and what he did. So, if we're talking about awesome, selfless people, let's discuss Sergeant John A. Chapman, who received the Congressional Medal of Honor for heroically taking heavy fire to save a teammate lost in a battle. This was awarded posthumously, which means he gave his life for his friends. As it is said, greater love hath no one than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. John 15:13. Chapman endured to the very end of his race, taking bullets for his friends, for his teammates, for his people. And he didn't stop after one bullet. He kept going. In the end, Chapman had over a dozen gun and shrapnel wounds. And think about it, guys. In our lives, we are going to take fire. But are you going to stop after the bullet hits you? Or are you going to keep marching for others? And next, I think you guys might be familiar with this one. We have Desmond Doss, a recipient of the Medal of Honor for saving over 75 people in a battle without using a gun. You may know him from the incredible movie Hacksaw Ridge. Can you imagine going into a battle without a gun? Can you imagine the courage and the love it must take to do so? And not just love for your fellow soldiers, the desire to heal your fellow soldiers, but also love for the enemy. Love so great that you don't want to kill them. You want them to have the opportunity to find Jesus in their lifetime. And so you will go out into battle. We will go out where shots are fired and grenades are raining down, because you love people. You love your enemies even. And I just think that's amazing. And in the movie, I don't know if this actually happened in real life, but in the movie, they actually depict him rescuing enemy soldiers. That's crazy. So next we have Peter Wang, and this is one of my favorites. He was a 15-year-old high school boy in JROTC that died trying to help his classmates escape at the school shooting of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School on Valentine's Day 2018. He was posthumously accepted into West Point for his bravery, for his love, something that he had wanted to do. And as this boy, again, he laid his life on the line for others because he loved them. 15 years old. So even at this young age, even now, we can have the spirit of selflessness and servitude towards other people. All right, you guys should know this one. On September 11, 2001, Flight 93 was hijacked. The passengers got wind of the hijacking. Earlier that day, Flight 11 and Flight 175 had already crashed into the World Trade Center. Flight 77 had crashed into the Pentagon. The passengers found this out. And what did they do? Okay, context. It's important for us to remember that many of this time had the mindset of, if someone bad is holding you hostage, do what they want, comply. That way they may let you go, right? But the Americans did not want to give them what they wanted. They didn't want to give them our freedom. They wanted to fight. Thus, they came up with a plan, and the famous word "Let's roll" from Flight 93 hero Todd Beamer was born. They fought for the country. And it didn't matter about their political background, their race. No, it mattered that they were people. We are people. In the end, love wins out, and they crashed into that field for love and because of love. Okay, this one's really awesome. My final story for you today is about someone you've probably never heard of. His name is Father Emile J. Capon. He was a Roman Catholic priest and a chaplain in the U.S. Army during the Korean War. He was captured and tortured as a prisoner of war. And guess what? He won the Medal of Honor without picking up a gun. He won the Medal of Honor by representing what the human spirit is. He took care of the other prisoners in the midst of this prisoner of war camp. And many said that they would have died without him. He sung to them. He kept them going. He was the same chaplain as a prisoner of war, beaten down by the enemy, as he was when he was not being tortured and starved. That's true faith right there. This may seem small through prideful eyes, but listen closely. Sometimes the greatest battles are not against what we see, but what we feel. And sometimes the greatest battles are fought with words and fought with songs. This is what was said about Emile Capon. Among recipients of the Medal of Honor, Father Capon's story is in itself wholly unique, wholly different. He didn't charge a pillbox. He didn't defeat an enemy battalion or brigade or division by himself. Rather, Father Capon's only weapons were steely defiance that inspired his fellow prisoners of the war. The words he spoke, which brought comfort to the soldier with whom he served, and a piece of purple ribbon that he wore around his neck, a mark of his chaplaincy, his priesthood. But don't make any mistake about it. Father Capon was a soldier, and a soldier in the purest, in the truest sense of the word. Former Secretary of the Army, John McHugh. And you know, there were so many other stories. But why do I even share them? Why am I even yapping about these stories? What's the point? The point is simple. You and I about to go out into the real world. Maybe you're already in the real world. And some of us are like, yeah, I don't care. But some of you are going to need to remind yourselves daily of why you should care about life. The spirit of humanity is demonstrated in these stories, that even in the darkest of places, I will keep singing for love. That might sound cringy, but it's true. That is why we live. That is why we breathe. That is why we keep going. So when you crawl out of that bed of yours in the morning and go to school or go to college or go to work or just start your day, don't think of how much it sucks to go do whatever you're about to go do. Don't think about how much money you're going to make, how you are going to be the best there is. Think about how you are going to use what you have to make a difference right where you are, wherever you decide to go. How are you going to make a difference? How are you going to make the most of the life that you have been given? We can be called a weak generation, and we have been called a weak generation. Quite frankly, there's probably a reason for that. But we can decide to be a strong generation, strong in Christ. It's up to us today as we embark on this new journey to decide what matters, decide what is important, decide how we are going to live our lives. So that is the end of my speech, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you took something out of it. But like I said, I think this is just so important because I don't want you guys to be in the place where you're like, I'm just a failure and I haven't done what I'm supposed to do, because there's always an opportunity out there. There's always an opportunity to go and help someone, and I think that's a purpose worth striving for. But anyway, I hope that you guys have a blessed day, and I hope that whatever you decide to do, you decide to do it for Jesus, and have a good life.